Welcome to our session where we will look today at how energy community cooperatives can help SMEs to overcome the energy crisis. My name is Diana Dovgan. I'm the Secretary General of CECOP. CECOP is the European Confederation representing cooperatives active in the sectors of industry and services. We are based in Brussels. Our main mission is to bring the voice of our members in front of the European institutions. We have members all around Europe in 15 European countries, and we represent a wide network of more or less 40,000 cooperative enterprises. And I take this opportunity to say hello to our Spanish member, Coseta, who is with us today. Coseta represents industrial and service cooperatives here in Spain, and they make an important contribution to the industrial and service sector. So today you will hear some of the testimonies coming from our members from Italy and Spain, but we also are glad to have with us Andreas Brieger, who represents SME United, which is the main European network representing the voice of SMEs in Europe. We have Carlos Berascierto from the cooperative CREAN. CREAN is the engineering cooperative of the Mondragon Corporation cooperative group. We also have Giorgio Nani from Lega Coop Nazionale. Lega Coop is one of the main Italian federation of cooperatives in Italy. And before starting, I would like first to thank the European Commission for giving us this opportunity to bring this issue in the industry days today. So since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, alternative ways to ensure energy supply, transition from fossil fuels to renewable energies and energy dependence are more urgent than ever. Suffering from dramatically rising energy prices, enterprises, but especially small and medium ones, need support to reduce costs and to increase their energy efficiency, but also to embrace the green transition. Today we will look at the renewable energy cooperatives as one of the solutions for SMEs to overcome this challenge. Renewable energy communities are more often known as citizen-driven initiatives. Maybe some of you have already heard of them, or maybe you are even part of some of those in your countries. But sometimes they're also characterized by the multi-stakeholder dimension. So very often next to citizens, you also have other stakeholders, such as public authorities or SMEs, who gather together in energy communities. And we believe in CECOP that there's a huge potential for renewable energy communities to be a solution, to be a way for SMEs to get together in order to, of course, reduce the energy cost, but also increase, as we said before, their energy efficiency. In the European Commission Clean Energy Package, member states are called to adapt supportive ecosystems and to seize the barriers for development of renewable energy communities. They're also supposed to adapt specific policies to enable frameworks and ensure level playing field. But what is the reality on the ground? This is one of the questions we'll try to answer today. I will just show some slides before I give the floor to the first speaker. So if we can have the first PowerPoint. Yeah. So let's just first say a few words. What is a renewable energy cooperative? It's a business model where citizens, with possible other stakeholders, jointly own and participate in renewable energy or energy efficiency projects. They're also referred often as citizen or renewable energy communities. They respect 7 cooperative principles that are outlined by the International Cooperative Alliance, such as voluntary and open membership, democratic members' control, economic participation through direct ownership, autonomy and independence, education, training and information, cooperation among cooperatives, and concern for community. But how does it work in practice? Our colleagues will give their perspective from national level, but in few words, after purchasing a cooperative share and becoming a co-owner of a local renewable energy project, members share in the profits and are usually given the opportunity also to buy the electricity at a fair price. In addition, members also have the right to actively participate in the cooperative. They can take part in the decision of where the cooperative should invest, or are consulted when setting the energy price. There are many advantages of renewable energy cooperatives. First, mutualization, which is the key principle of a cooperative, keep the individual investment affordable. They also keep the money in the local economy. Since they use local energy sources and include local stakeholders, they also stimulate local jobs and also boost the local economy. The power of multi-stakeholdership. As said before, very often in renewable energy communities, you will see different local stakeholders together around the common project. They also foster social acceptance for renewable energy. When citizens are involved from the design to all the steps of building of a renewable energy project, they also, of course, become promoters of the renewable energies. And of course, last but not least, they also help EU to meet its 2030 climate and energy objectives and decrease Europeans' reliance on important fossil energies. So, before taking too much time, I would like to give now the floor to our speakers. But let's first, before we hear testimonies from Spain and Italy, let's first start with Andreas. Andreas, please share a bit of context with us. Can you tell us how SMEs are coping today with the energy crisis that we just spoke about before? Yeah.
Does that work? Good. Thank you very much, Diana, for the kind invitation. I'm glad that there are more people in the room now. Yes, so my name is Andreas Brieger. I work as Policy Director on Energy, Climate and Environmental Issues at SME United. SME United is the voice of small and medium enterprises in Europe and of crafts enterprises. SMEs must not be left behind in the green transition because they represent 99% of all businesses in the European Union, 2/3 of employment and about 50% of added value. And don't forget the crafts enterprises, they're the climate action heroes who are supposed to install all those solar panels and heat pumps. Since I represent small businesses, I have a small presentation. Let me start with that famous slogan by Fridays for Future, system change, not climate change. I'm not claiming that slogan for myself, but it's a fitting starting point because active energy consumers could dramatically change the electricity systems. We often call them prosumers because they consume and produce at the same time. We work a lot with consumer organizations on energy policy because most of our businesses, small businesses, are also small consumers. So there are lots of commonalities here. Think about your favorite restaurant or your baker around the corner or, or your plumber who installed your new heating recently. So we will hear about other types of communities. SMEs can engage in those communities as well as commercial prosumers whose main activity is not electricity production. So we heard a little bit about the legal context already. Maybe just a few words on the electricity market design, which is a measure that is currently being negotiated. It's one of the measures that resulted from the emergency measures that were introduced last year. We also engage in that political process. And SME United fully supports the idea that consumers and SME that either own, lease, rent or storage electricity should have the right to share excess productivity, not just to their suppliers, but directly. Of course, rights and obligations should be clarified, and member states should establish dedicated tariffs for the cost that energy sharing schemes generate in electricity grids. Now, Does that work? Sorry for that. So looking at the recent debates we had in the European Parliament and the Brussels bubble, there are two buttons. There are advocates who say we have to push the pause button on climate and energy legislation because there's been a lot. On the other side, there are the ones like the Spanish rapporteur for the electricity market design who said we have to push the green button for Europe and continue the Green Deal that we started. One thing is clear, the European Green Deal has set the bar high in terms of legislation with over 70 pieces of legislation in the energy and climate field. And SMEs need the proper time to implement those measures, need legal certainty and planning stability. However, you can't put a pause button on climate change now, can you? So, apart from the regulatory pressure, and I don't know why this is speeding up so much, maybe the most important issue for SMEs in the last couple of years were the rising energy costs, which created a severe challenge for our SMEs' survival and growth. So how are the high energy costs impacting SMEs? There's a recent survey which confirms our members' experiences that energy costs had a significant impact on profitability, forced SMEs to increase prices, and even threatens the very existence of many of our businesses. Luckily, SMEs have shown a remarkable resilience over the last couple of years. How do SMEs respond to the energy price crisis? The same study shows that installing solar panels, improving the performance of buildings, and smart energy use are high on the agenda of SMEs in Europe. However, the figures for actions like power purchasing agreements and multi-buyer consortiums are very much lower. So what is holding SMEs back? Often they encounter a bureaucratic overload and lack vital support. For SMEs, it is crucial to get investment support and technical assistance to get their energy bills down. Interesting in this figure is in the middle, 42% of the SMEs surveyed here demand programs that help businesses generate their own power with renewables. That means there is a clear demand of SMEs becoming prosumers. In practice, however, I have to admit, SMEs' participation in energy communities is not quite mainstreamed yet. Let me put it in the words of a famous children's book. A happy school of little fish lived in a corner of the sea somewhere. They were all red. Only one of them was green. That fish, he swam faster than his brothers and sisters. His name was Swimmy. So Swimmy had the courage to explore the wonders of the ocean, and he was very happy about it. However, he had difficulties to convince others to follow him since they were afraid of being eaten by a big fish. However, Swimmy convinced them that together they can be a big fish themselves. And that's exactly what we have to do. Convince entrepreneurs about the opportunities of the energy transition. So there are already many Swimmies out there. I can name a few after the concrete examples we had here. But to become a Swimmy, they need support schemes. And at the European level, we're actually engaging in one of those schemes, which is the Covenant of Companies, which gives practical step-by-step guidance to SMEs to start the energy transition journey in terms of renewables, energy efficiency, and other measures. So the second call is still open. If you are an entrepreneur or happen to know somebody here in Spain, you can still apply for technical assistance here. It's a very valuable project. Now, what does it need to boost SMEs' participation in the energy transition? Here's a couple of policy recommendations, and I might be able to elaborate on that later. So first of all, we need a stable and enabling regulatory environment in that investment decisions can be taken. Recently, second, the Commission announced to make life easier for businesses by reducing reporting obligation and freeing up time and resources for concentrating on engaging in the green transition. And then, lastly, scaling up those support measures, maybe with a specific focus on energy communities, could help SMEs to push the green button and engage in the energy transition. Maybe that's for starter.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Andreas. It was interesting to start with the perspective of SMEs. And now the two next speakers will more present the ecosystem, the technical and financial support that SMEs can receive to engage and create energy communities under the cooperative model. So I start with Carlos. Carlos, please say us a few words first about what is CREAN and what is the Mondragon Corporation, and then we'll be happy to hear a bit more in practice how do you support the establishment of renewable energy communities here in Spain.
Well, we, as Mondragon Corporation, are promoting many different kind of communities in Spain. Today I will speak about one concrete example, because these kind of communities are always very theoretical, and I will try to put you in the table a real example of a real big community that we have created about 5 years ago. So let's try to make this exercise. Of course, when we speak about communities, we are always, and when we speak about cooperatives, we are always thinking of people. But this event treats about industry days. So we are now explaining an example of a community with industries, not with people. Whoa, it really runs. Well, this slide is quite relevant. If you see, we created in 2018 the community about 1 month before that the European Union developed the directive about these kind of communities. So we started before, and we started thinking about what our industries needs when we speak about energy. And we decided to create this entity, not because of the legislation of the European community, but because of the necessities of our country and of our companies. When we started this project in Basque Country, there was no big solar installation because we have many industries, but we have not very much sun. So making an installation efficient without sun, with panels, is quite difficult. That was our target. We speak about with about 90 different companies. All these companies are from the Basque Country. At the end, we reached to convince to 31 companies who put their money for making a 24 megawatt plant in a collaborative scheme. And they invested about 24 million euros in this project. And this is a real project. 31 companies analyzing that this model is working correctly for the next 25 years. And all of them, but just one, was industrial companies. And convince an industrial company to put money in energy is not so easy. Well, we can analyze what we're doing about 5 years ago. Stands the requirements of the European community of these kind of communities. Of course, we create a legal entity. Sorry, it was not a cooperative. I will explain why, because we are Mondragon, we're promoting a community and we are not doing a cooperative. It's quite strange, no? Well, it was also controlled by the partners. Most of the partners were medium or little industries of the Basque Country. Of course, all of them wanted renewable energy, but the property of these assets was for each one. They make some kind of legal entity for consolidating their global action as a unity action, and of course they provide environmental, economical, and social benefits. When we construct this plant was as big as all the others solar plants in the Basque Country. So with one action, we reach as much energy as all the activities about 10 years before. So the impact was relevant. Well, which were the targets when you started? First one, our companies wanted energy, but it's difficult for a company to buy an asset that provides energy with solar or with eolic. Why? Because their way of consume must make match with the form of the way of the generating energy of this kind of plants. So we decided to limit the energy quantity of each company. No company could buy more than 1 megawatt of this plant because of this problem. Second, economy. We decide, because the industrial companies wanted security of the prices, to stabilize the price of the generation for 25 years. That means that we construct the plant, but we also will maintain the plant with a standard or with a stable cost for 25 years, and we are doing that. Third one, of course, our companies needed renewable energy. Why? Because of the planet? No. Today, if they want to sell their products, many companies has the trouble that if the energy that they use for production is not renewable energy, they cannot sell their products. So this was a necessity of the companies of Mondragon, and not only from Mondragon, because of these 31 companies, only 6 as cooperative of our group. Well, the plant that is called Kian, as I have told you, is 24 megawatts plant. Economy. We reach a price of production for megawatt of 30 euros. But with the tax solution that we found, this project could provide energy for a price of 23 euros megawatt for 25 years. And that's why this entity is not a cooperative, because the legality of the Basque Country does not permit to use the tax model if you are a cooperative. And we are the country of the cooperatives in the Basque Country. Now we are changing our legislation because of this project for making possible that the next project is not an agrupación de interés económico, is just a cooperative. Sustainability. Well, let's talk about money again. When we started this project, the green credit price was of 0.5 euros. Today is 7 euros. So this price of 23 euros megawatt that we are speaking before now has gone under the 16 euros of price for these companies for 25 years. And that was the principal reason for constructing the project. Many of our companies are electrical dependent. So if they have the energy to a price of 16 euros megawatt, their products are more competitive. And this is an effect that produces the renewable energy. It's very cheap if you are the owner of the project. If you are not the owner of the project, and if you go to the market to buy this energy, the price is quite higher. As I have told you, Ekian was not a cooperative. Let's analyze which are the problems that we found for making this project without a cooperative structure. There were 3 principal problems. First one was legal. Here in Spain, we have 18 different laws that are regulating in this community the cooperatives. And the 18 legal laws are different. And they are not prepared. Probably they are prepared for making a company with people, but when you go to any kind of these communities speaking about creating a cooperative between companies, they stop. It's very, very difficult. So we must change. We must adapt the legislation for permitting to the companies, to the industrial companies, participate in this kind of projects. We are not prepared. Second, taxes. The tax model doesn't work today with these companies. Well, doesn't work in 4 years ago. Now in the Basque Country, we have changed the legislation. And we are changing the legislation for permitting a cooperative to work in the market at the big companies. Because the big companies can use the taxes, but we can't. And if the taxes means the 10% or the 30% of the investment, we are running without a fit, you know? So we must make a legislation that put in the same way to the big and to the not so big companies in this market. Third, energy operation. The electrical system is very complicated. And yes, we can produce energy, but it's very difficult to put this energy in our bill. And the point is quite relevant, because if we are producing energy in a price, but we cannot put this in our bill, it does mean that we will have to pay about 25% of taxes, more for not being able to do that. So we must adapt the system, and we must permit to the producers to put this in their bills, to a 16 or 20 euros price, not to another price, okay? And this is my presentation. A very concrete example. You can put in YouTube Ekian and you will see many presentations about this, and well, I hope you have pleased my project, okay?
Thank you, Carlos. There will be moments for questions and comments from the room, so please keep them in mind if you have some. Now I would like to give the floor to Giorgio Nanni, coming from Italy, from Lega Coop. Now Giorgio will give a bit of different perspective. I mean, it's also, he will talk about the supportive ecosystem, assistant, but coming from a federation level. And I think you will explain to us an interesting program you have developed together with other colleagues in Italy for renewable energy cooperatives.
Thanks, Diana. Good afternoon. I'm Giorgio Nanni from Lega Coop Italy. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Lega Coop, founded in 1886, is the oldest Italian cooperative organization that promote development of cooperation and mutuality, the economic and the solidarity relation of its member cooperatives, and encourages the spread of cooperative principles and values. The more than 10,000 cooperatives belonging to Lega Coop are present in all regions and the productive sector. They can be found in leading position in sectors such as retailing, construction, agri-food, service and manufacturing. There are big cooperatives, but they are only a little part of wool. Despite producing a turnover about 80 billion euros, Lega Coop members are mainly micro and small enterprises. This is a very important point for our following analysis. I am the coordinator of energy office, and that oversees association policies related to energy issues. Concerning the energy transition, we have noticed a big change in the Italian energy system. Italy has increased mainly its number of power plants in the last 2 decades. At the beginning of the new millennium, in Italy we could count only hundreds of energy plants, large fossil fuel ones. Now they are millions, micro, small size, renewable ones. So we have passed from a few to many in a short time, and we have changed our electricity mix. In this period, Lega Coop's cooperative generated over 150 megawatt, not only solar plants. I believe this is due to Lega Coop's strategy on energy and the environmental. So, the high performance of RES in Italy is a big goal to attain sustainability, but it could be a risk for energy distribution, because RES cannot be programmed and are discontinuous. However, is a problem not only in Italy. Europe has established many different laws about electricity to balance the energy system, in particular to the directive RED II and IM, with the aim to introduce flexibility. The most known are renewable energy communities and citizen energy communities, but also specific solutions to promote self-consumption. As I mentioned in the past, in particular from 2008, Lega Coop launched a new project to promote green solution. It was called Cooperambiente, a fair which gave visibility to the cooperative system. In the first edition of the fair, we invited Jeremy Rifkin, who spoke about the hydrogen and the role of cooperative system. As Rifkin noted in his book, The Hydrogen Economy, cooperatives are in the best position to develop new networks of distributed and democratic power generation. So, we talk about energy community cooperatives. In fact, energy cooperatives are a worldwide and strong growth located in rural and urban areas, both developing and developed countries. Lega Coop decided to launch a project, Respira, that means breathe, is a platform set up by GoFund, Lega Coop, Banca Etica ed Ecomil to promote renewable energy communities in cooperative form. This project helps citizens, enterprises, and public authority to create RECs and support the startup phase. It follows the community from the beginning on the legislative aspect, both national and the European, and the cooperative law on economic incentive, business plan, and finally, access to funding. Respira partners are Lega Coop, that supports to comply with the Italian law about RECs. It provided statute drafts, related documents. Coop Fund, the mutualistic fund of Lega Coop, finance feasibility studies to set up RECs. Then it supports the first round of investment. Banca Etica, the first Italian bank entirely focused on ethical finance, provides loans to build renewable energy plants. Ecomil, a crowdfunding platform for energy transition, launches campaigns to finance the construction of renewable energy plants. In short, Respira provides a ready-to-go set of tools and partners. In this way, it's easier to set up a REC in cooperative form for all. RECs are little bricks to build a new energy market system. Thus, cooperatives can reduce the cost of energy. It's very important in Italy because the price of energy is higher for SMEs, than the large company. So, RES in general and the RECs in specific way are fundamental to decrease the volatility of the price. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Giorgio. Maybe before we open the floor for questions and comments, I have a question for you and Carlos. I mean, obviously your organizations promote the cooperative model, but you explained some very major obstacles that you have to establish a renewable energy under the cooperative model. But are there any advantages for being a renewable energy cooperative? And what are the motivations of those, for example, businesses that came to you or those projects that you are following? What is their motivation to opt for a cooperative model?
Well, it's a good answer, a good question. Now, if we see the map of the renewable energy here in Spain today, we are watching a problem, a big problem. People that lives near of these kind of assets doesn't want the assets. They see the impacts of the eolic or for the big solars that are creating here in Spain, in many places, but they don't understand why they must make an effort for supporting this asset in their land. And this is a problem. If you don't approach the assets to the people, or to the companies, or to the local entities of the land, probably most of these assets will not be viable. So, making these kind of entities, probably we are promoting the renewable energy as much as we are putting money in them. For us, they have no sense to make big assets without the collaboration of the people and without connecting the asset with the consumer. And I don't mind if this consumer is a big company or not so big company of 500 people, this has sense. The other one is not sense. It's like, just to put an example, well, now we are consuming fuel, and fuel comes from Arabia. And when you put an eolic, it is like a petrol plant, you know? But the property is from the Arabian people. So we are taking this petrol from here with wine. No sense for the people. So for us, part of our politic is, yes, we can make plants, but this plant must be connected. This is one of the principal problems here in Spain today with the renewable energies, and in these kind of structures, there is no problem. Because we start explaining to people, we need this for this kind of consumes. And probably part of the consumes are yours, and the other one is going to Madrid or to Barcelona because they have no land. But the people understand. And if we want to create a sound structure of energy, the people must understand and must accept these kind of assets. That's for us the principal reason for developing communities.
Giorgio, would like to comment to this?
Yes, so I think that there are many different points about cooperative form. So, are the best tool of a group for energy prosumer. So it's important. And are combine democracy and the production of energy. So it's also this is very important because we have introduced democracy in energy system. It's another important aspect of the, and they are interested in a poor consumer because they can divide the gap, the open door, so everybody can be a member of a REX in cooperative form.
Yep. I like your idea about democracy in the energy sector. I think it's very, of course, pertinent, especially in the current context. Andreas, is there anything you would like to comment or to ask to our speakers before we give the floor to the audience, to the room? I think you also have some personal experiences with energy community, no?
We are engaging as a project with businesses and a co-housing in energy production, and my personal experience shows exactly the problems that SMEs have with it. So entrepreneurs need the freedom to do their business, but the main business is not generating electricity. The main business might be a baker or a small manufacturer, for example. So having the knowledge, the technical knowledge, the legal knowledge to set up those kind of structures is very difficult for individual SMEs. Might be easier if you do it in a cooperative model. So that's that's one point. Then, do you have the finances, the initial finances to participate in a project? It's the other. And that's what I said with an enabling framework that our entrepreneurs need. So effective support mechanisms. As I talked to some people during the breaks who said, I find it very difficult to understand those different funding sources the European Union has. I suppose it might be the same in some regions. So these are obstacles that we face. But certainly, the German Minister of Finance said renewable energies are freedom energies, and I like the term because they actually give you the freedom to do your business by having affordable energies. So that's what it makes so important that SMEs actually can engage in that, and that's also why I'm here to discuss with those interesting cooperative models.
Trend of shifting from passive consumption to active production, it's really spreading around, and we see that the community ownership is becoming more and more a widespread model. Is there any comments or questions from our audience? Yes, I see here. I think there's a mic too. There's a mic. If someone can bring the mic to the colleagues. First gentleman here and then gentleman there.
Thank you very much. My name is Andrew from Ireland. I really enjoyed this session, I must say, so well done to your panel. I like the idea of democratization of energy. Is there a concern, and you know, you've tremendous experience between you, is there a concern that the Commission will use our taxpayers' money to support energy generation, new models, freedom models, for example, as you say there, and yet we will be held to ransom by a different vested purpose? That is the democracy going to be truly democratic? Are we replacing one overlord in the Middle East for a more localized overlord here? Will it really give us democracy on our energy? Will it really give us freedom? Or will we find that the capitalist market takes over this and that we're paying equivalently high energy prices, albeit that the security of it and the damage to the planet has been reduced as a concern?
It's more than a question.
That's my question.
It's more than a question, it's a statement.
It's a statement, and how would you react to it? Not at all.
Who would like to take on this? Carlos?
Well, I don't know. We are now putting on operation several communities with people, not with industries. And of course, the democracy is a very big concept, but you must put this concept in concrete decisions for the people, because the people doesn't understand what the electric system is. And really, when you have a plant that you are putting in an entity, you can decide about what to do with the energy of this plant, and you put to the people making decisions. You see the democracy operates. But in fact, the capacity of having decisions is not so big. So it's not so real. And you have, for one example, we have a session next week with 550 people in a plant. The decisions are qualitative, but they have some kind of decision. So the democracy, for me, is quite philosophical. At the end, the democracy, probably to the people, also to the people, must be translated to a number, to a figure. I have given you today a figure, 30 euros, 23 euros. Here in Spain, the energy has been in 300 euros, 100 euros. That is also democracy. So for our understanding, the democracy translated to the energy has to be in two different levels. First one, decisions, not very big decisions, but also you must permit to the people to access. For one example, we have calculated that here in Spain with solar, you need about 1,200 euros to create your own plant for your necessity. But many people hasn't 1,200 euros. You must help them. This is help. There are helps, but I don't know if they are enough or not. So Democracy is very theoretical for me. We can try, of course, and we must try, but I don't know if it's very real.
Someone else? Or do you want to add something? We go for the next question.
Hello, my name is Paul Pister, and thank you for sharing your thoughts and your experiences. I have two questions, more technical one, more practical one, and maybe going to Carlos in the first instance. But if you have any comments on these things also. I didn't get very well yet this project that you told, this Creon, with a 24 megawatt PV plant that you installed there. The energy that is created in the PV plant, how do you organize the transition, the transmission of the energy? Do you need the normal net, or do you have a special transmission lines to all the different partners of your project? That's the first question. And the second, how do you organize the sharing of the energy that is related, the electricity? So you said Mondragon has 25%, so I suppose this means that Mondragon acquires the possibility to use 25% of the shared of the generated electricity. What happens if they don't use it at this moment? Can they sell it? Is it shared among the other stakeholders, or how do you organize the share of the energy?
Well, both are very, very good questions. Probably you need more than an hour to explain each one, but making a brief resume. When you make an entity as a KIAN, or when you make a cooperative, the collaborative activity is very, very philosophical. At the end, the people every people want their own interest. So they must have the decision of their energy. In this plant of a KIAN, the 31 shareholders has a part of the plant, and they decide what to do with this energy. And some ones, like Iberdrola, want to sell the energy to the system because they are a part of the system. Another one wants this energy in their bill. And probably I need 2 days to explain you how we can get this point of energy to the bill of the people, because there are many contracts and very complicated to get there with security in Spain. It's very, very difficult, very technical question. But at the end, you are the owner of your asset. You decide where your energy is going, to the system or to your bill. I don't mind if it's a key and if it's a community of people. To the people, we are going to put the energy in their bill, and you decide the price. Very important. If you want to put this energy to 30 euros, you will earn 0. But if you want to buy the energy to 40 euros in another company, you can get some kind of result. And you can decide that. So the essential is the democracy. You can decide what to do with your very, very small part of energy that we are producing. You can have economical decisions, at least, with that. This is a very brief resume of something very complicated with 31 people making 31 decisions, different decisions in the energy in this plant. So it's not constructing. It's can you put a system of gestion of this plant for 25 years? So I don't know what. Complicated, okay? But you can do.
Are there other questions? Yes, gentleman there.
Good afternoon. I represent the north of the Netherlands. We have a lot of energy cooperatives working as well, mainly between inhabitants in private houses that cooperate in a joint solar project or sometimes wind. But we're here in the industry days, and I'm working on the energy transition for the industry, and I have trouble making the connection between the industrial plants that needs a very steady supply of energy, and this sort of
Sorry.
more
You can
variance. Yeah. So does this work? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the industrial plant has a very big and needs a certain steady supply of energy, and the energy cooperative is bringing a very variable source of energy. So my sensation is that generally the industry plant can help the cooperative in terms of demand and making something happen, but it's not really a solution for the industrial plant in terms of steady supply. Do you have any good examples that we can refer to improve this approach?
Well, if you want, I can explain the strategy of Mondragon at this point. We have many, many industries that are producing products. I just explained that a car is 25% of the car is energy. So many of our companies are buying many energy. And it's real. The connecting, producing an energy producing plant in a renewable product, I don't mind if it's solar or eolic, with a production is difficult. Because if you are producing at the night, the solar is not working. So you must match. What we have decided in our companies is dividing our consumption in 3 parts. One part will be generated by solar or eolic plants. We must mix these 2 technologies to match as much as possible the generation with the consumption. The second part, we will close about PPAs, acquiring energy for different kind of assets, not only renewable. And the third one will go to the market. And with these 3 different parts, we can first stabilize the price. It's very important. If you are producing something, if the energy that is 25% goes to 300 or goes to 30, your product has not the same value, and you are producing to a price, so it's a very, very big risk. We are stabilizing the price, and probably we are going down to this price. But it's more important to stabilize than to put it down. This is our strategy. I don't know if it's answered.
Andreas, you would like to add something?
Yes, just a little comment. This event is not called Big Industry Days, no? Just to make that clear. So SMEs are an important part of the supply chains of industrial ecosystems. And if you forgot the engagement of those small players, the whole ecosystem is not going to work. And I'm saying this because also politicians tend to forget those and concentrate on the big players, on the low-hanging fruits. But you have to go the long way and have to include those small players as well. And it's actually in those communities rooted in the regional level that you can create a lot of momentum also for the green transition and for the acceptance of the green transition. And then we come back to the first aspect about creating cohesion with energy. I mean, eventually it's an economic decision if you do an investment or not, but it can have tremendous effects on the regional level if you do.
Well, thank you. We are almost done. I think it was a really interesting session. We heard that there are many needs coming from SMEs and crafts to have better support to engage in their own energy production. We've seen that there are already initiatives that exist to provide this kind of support, but we see that there are still some lacking layers in terms of regulation, enabling framework. So I guess it's just a conversation that will continue in the next months and years. So I thank you all for coming today. There are some time until the end of the conference. There is a cocktail, so you can also go and approach our speakers. Maybe you have other comments or questions to raise to them. So thank you to all of you who traveled to come today and to our participants.